that early win of like selling myself like $5,000, I was like, I'm rich, like I can do everything. And so I just will never forget that very first transfer I made.
Hey, and welcome to today's episode of Pivot to Profit, where we talk all things money, all things entrepreneur, and sometimes even pelvic health. Yes, that's today's topic, y'all. So I have the amazing Dr. Becky Allen and Dr. Corrie Maguire, partners at Genesis PT and Wellness. What's up, Queens?
Woo! Thanks for having us.
Hi, Pam. We miss you.
I know you guys are magical. So full disclosure, we know each other in person and they are actually clients of ours at Pivot Business Group. So super excited to share their journey with y'all. So let me do the official introductions because you guys are very impressive. So Dr. Becky Allen is the founder of Genesis PT and Wellness, where she specializes in pelvic rehabilitation and functional dry needling, a graduate of Texas Women's University with advanced certification in women's health physical therapy. She's dedicated to providing passionate whole person care for women at every stage of life. Amazing, super impressive. Not to be outdone by Dr. Corrie Maguire. Partner and COO of Genesis PT and Wellness, is a Plano native with a doctorate in physical therapy from UNT Health Science Center. She focuses on pelvic health therapy for athletes, prenatal, postpartum women, and men with expertise in vaginismus and digestive health. Passionate about mentorship and leadership, she bridges clinical skills with entrepreneurial vision. Whew, y'all are so impressive. And so love to share with you guys and your amazing journey because obviously, you know, I know you and I know your passion and I know your heart for what you do. So before we dive into all that, like what did little Becky and little Corrie wanted to be when they grew up?
I wanted to be a hair cutter.
A hair cutter, a hairstylist.
But I said a hair cutter.
Specifically, just cut it.
Just cut it. I don't want to style. Just give me the scissors.
That is so
So
funny.
you just wanted to play with sharp objects.
Yeah.
She still gets to, so that worked out.
Needles.
Comes full circle. I love it. So Corrie, what was your dream?
I wanted to be a zookeeper.
I love that.
Now she has chickens.
Yeah, I do have 6 chickens and 3 French bulldogs, so it's just a smaller zoo.
So you
and a business, which could be more like a zoo.
So both of you are actually doing what you wanted to do when you were kids.
Yes.
This is not how we thought. I love it. So speaking of young Becky and young Corrie, what were you taught about money? Was money good? Was money bad? Should you want it? Tell me all the things.
So my dad owned a small business and also had a lot of health issues. So a lot of the things I heard about money was just like, there's not ever enough of it. Like we were really struggling at certain times to like pay the mortgage and things like that, gonna lose the house, those sorts of things. It was all kind of like more passive, but there was a lot of stress around money in my household, especially taxes. And my family are believers, and we would talk a lot about how like God was going to provide, and oftentimes he did. And thankfully my dad's health is much better now and things are much better now. But I remember being pretty young when I was like, someday God's going to use me to provide for other people instead of the other way around. And so that's kind of where I set my money mindset of like, I knew I was going to pursue something where I didn't want to struggle financially the way my parents had.
Hence getting a doctorate.
Yeah, that's a good step.
I love it. I love it. So Becky, what about you? What were you taught about money?
Yeah, I grew up in a Dave Ramsey household. Yes. And so I just remember, you know, we went to the Dave Ramsey thing at our church and we had a family meeting about it and we were going to use these envelopes and that's going to be our spending. And so I definitely that's definitely a core memory of my childhood. Not a good one, not a bad one. It's just kind of there. You know, that's just what I knew. And then outside of that, money felt like just this ambiguous thing that sometimes we had it, sometimes we didn't. And we were never really stressed about it, but we were also just kind of like, well, I don't really know. It was never like we're not going to eat, but it was like, oh, well, we've already spent our money this month, so we have to wait for next month. And Just kind of no real strategy around it outside of the Dave Ramsey envelopes. That was our strategy. I remember like debt was bad and just how dare you even think about it and like let's pay off the house and just like literally all of that stuff was just kind of like what I grew up understanding about money.
Which is definitely an approach, but it's not necessarily like a let's build wealth now approach.
Yeah.
So, Becky, you started Genesis PT and Wellness. What made you be like, yeah, all these certifications are great. It's now time for me to start my own business? Like, what was the precipice of like, I need to do this myself in my own way, under my own name, all of that? Tell me that story.
So I was a mom. I had two kiddos at the time. Duke was 2. Ava was about 6 months when I decided I was going to figure this crap out. And I was just ready to start deciding what does going back to work look like. You know, I'm a physical therapist. I have a lot of options. I had been doing a little part-time here and there at like nursing home, rehab hospital, just to kind of get out and be with adults, right? In my kids' like first years of life. And so it was time. I was like, I'm done with kids. I'm ready to figure out what work looks like because I love work and I love my job. And so I knew I wanted something that had flexibility that I could preferably do part-time, especially while the kids were young. I remember talking to my husband, like, I never started Genesis to like make millions and like build a team. Like I just didn't want someone to tell me what to do. I wanted to be able to set my hours, take off if I want to take off, treat how I wanted to treat. And I was like, I guess that's a business. Like I'll just do my own thing. And so that's kind of how it came about.
For a lot of skilled female entrepreneurs, that's the story, right? Like, and that's the similar story of why I started Pivot is like, I can't sit at a desk from 9 to 5 and still make dinner happen and make the soccer games. So I can't work for someone else. So I'm going to have to do my own thing.
Yes.
So, Becky, tell me about an early financial win when you started the business and you're like, oh, dang, this might actually work. And I can like pay bills and buy diapers and things.
Yes. Okay. My earliest financial win memory is so I created Genesis just with a goal of not being negative. Like I literally was like, as long as I see 4 patients a week, I can pay my rent and it's worth it then because I get out of the house. And like that was my whole mindset in the early days. And when I realized, like probably, I don't know, 6 months to 12 months in that I was like, oh, there's money. I could transfer some of this money over to my bank account and personal money. I was like, okay, which was never really like truthfully, that was never the goal. I just didn't want to lose money on this thing that got me out of the house and let me do what I love. And so that early win of like zelling myself like $5,000, I was like, I'm rich, like I can do everything. And so that was, I just will never forget that very first transfer I made.
So once we're beyond, okay, I can make rent and I'm not getting out of the house and oh, wow. Tell me about when you realized like the monster that you built was actually a business that was viable beyond you. What did that look like? What was that moment?
I would say it was probably a few years in, which is probably a few years too late, if I'm being honest. But Corrie was already on board. We already had thriving Fort Worth side, which is our, we kind of have 2 large clinics and then a couple other smaller clinics. But our 2 large clinics were going, thriving, growing. We were growing a team. We had a handful of clinicians, all the things. And Corrie would start to say things like, well, do we have a process? And like, da 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 da. And I'm just like, a what? No, we just do things here. We just like have ideas and we just go. And when Corrie started talking about some of those things and kind of the way she did it was very like, I see what you're trying to do. I see your vision. I love it, Becky. And she's like, how are we going to do it? And so I think it was whatever she kind of opened my eyes to like, this is a thing. Like, this is a thing, can continue to be a thing. I want in on the thing. Like, let me help you do the thing. I was like, oh, this is the thing, like, and so it took kind of her opening my eyes rather than me just being like, I'm having so much fun. Like, oh, I love all my people. We're helping all the people. We're the best. We have a pretty clinic. So that it was really when she started opening my eyes to like what was lacking, but not in a way of like, this is lacking. It was just like, what if we did some of this stuff to help us get there?
So what I'm hearing is using EOS terms or traction terms is like when the integrator showed up and like to visionary, hey, Queen Visionary, that's a really nice idea. How are we going to make that happen? And Miss Becky is like, well, I don't know. How should we make that happen? And Corrie's like, I have ideas.
Yes.
Basically, in a nutshell, what happened.
And it's so amazing that that really is a pivotal point in a lot of businesses. Because as visionaries, like Becky, you're like full stream ahead. Let's go. This is amazing. Let's go. And Corrie, you're like, but how? And
She's like, I have questions.
So many questions.
And are they on payroll or not? And like, do we have money for that? So I love that that was the moment where you're like, oh, maybe this is a real business and I need to act like it's a real business. So when did Corrie come on as like a legit partner and not just like, hey, I'm passionate about what you're doing?
So officially, legally a partner last year, but she was a partner well before that. Honestly, truly from day one, she was. I don't think I really saw it as a true quote unquote partnership that, oh, I can bring this person in and I can share my thoughts and my ideas and get her thoughts and her ideas and we can work together and make decisions together until probably 2 years after she was hired. But she, from the beginning, was very like partnership minded. And again, I wasn't like anti being a partner. I didn't want to necessarily do it all by myself, but I just didn't see it until some of the things that she started bringing to the table helped me to see it.
I just think it's funny because in the early days, Becky was mentoring me clinically, mostly as like the first employee. And we would drink a lot of margaritas and talk about patients. And then we'd always eventually get to like, okay, well, how could we be doing this better, more efficient? I would say I tended to be like, what if we did scheduling like this? What if we did admin like this? What if we took out some of these redundancies? And Becky's so receptive of good ideas. And so she'd always be like, sure. And like, that's how the like partnership started. And then 2 years ago, we made it official and we put a ring on it. So
you do have a ring on it. I've seen the rings. They're very pretty. So let's talk about the actual services you provide. So you guys are passionate about specifically about women's pelvic health. Translate what that means for the average human.
I would say we are very passionate about pelvic health in general. Women are a huge part of who we serve. And so our big thing is that the pelvic floor is not going to be resolved any issues by like just doing Kegels, by just throwing a little exercise or a little movement or a little stretch at anything. It's just simply not that simple. No part of the body is. And so we're huge on doing a full body approach, looking at the whole person, their body, of course, but also their work, their goals, their stress levels, their nervous system, the whole 9 yards, and helping them to overcome anything that they're struggling with. So to be super specific, what typically comes in our door is like, I'm leaking when I cough or sneeze. I have terrible constipation. I'm having pain with sex. My C-section scars, painful after birth, those sorts of things. But our approach is to really provide life-changing therapy services, not just patch you up and send you out the door. And that's what makes us special, I think.
I love it. And you guys are based in Texas, but you also do virtual. So explain how that works.
So we're across DFW. Like Becky said, we have 2 larger clinics, but we have a smattering across the Metroplex. And then virtually is actually really fun. I actually have a patient in Puerto Rico right now who I should have just given birth to her baby. And we did prenatal PT the whole time completely virtually. And then I've even had patients, you have a ton of virtual patients right now. I've had patients that we've resolved like leaking and all that sort of stuff totally virtually. I think it's so successful, even just virtually, because our approach is the whole body. So a lot of times people are like, how are you going to treat my pelvic floor if you can't like do a physical assessment? And it's like, well, we're going to ask a bunch of questions to see if that's absolutely necessary. And then if there's like a red flag or a concern, we will connect you with someone locally to make sure you're okay. But 99% of the time, the pelvic floor is not even the real issue. And we can treat the whole body pretty virtually, pretty successfully through exercise, through changing the way you're breathing, through talking about your stress and getting you lots of resources. And so It's really extremely personalized and super duper fun and very successful virtually too. So, and a lot of our virtual patients are very successful people who don't have time to get away from their desk, even if they are local. And so we just follow up virtually instead.
I'll add on that. One of my favorite things I've heard Corrie say in, I don't know, semi recently is, I used to say the gold standard of pelvic floor care is an in-person assessment with treatment. And Corrie the other day or weeks ago was like, that's not true. The gold standard is Genesis quality
Yeah.
care. And like, I would rather Genesis see someone virtually and them get like the Genesis way more than I would rather just Google and find some random
Local.
internal treating therapist that might be giving them Kegels or something like that. And so, yeah, I mean, she nailed it. I just launched Genesis's first online pelvic floor rehab program a couple months ago. It was very wildly successful. We're still in it. We have 3 more weeks left in the program. We have 8 women who are going through it with leaking or prolapse when they work out. So specifically to when they're exercising. And the way I structured it was I built it out through our Genesis method, which involves like looking at what is the root cause, which we can pretty quickly determine without any hands-on, any internal assessment, just with, like Corrie said, our good questions, looking at different movement patterns, lifestyles, things like that. Moving to, okay, once we know the root cause or cause is, okay, let's give you our version of how we're going to fix that. It is exercises, it is postural changes, it is lifestyle, it is nutrition, it is stress, it's, all the things. And then we move into really building that resilience with them. So it truly can be done online if you are thinking the way that we think at Genesis.
And then you also have the Genesis way that you teach other practitioners. So it's not just that you're helping women and men that need help with their pelvic floor, but you're also teaching other practitioners how to do things the Genesis way. So tell me about that.
Ooh, I love this one. So absolutely, we've grown to lovingly call it the Genesis way because it's the way we do everything. It's the way we treat our patients clinically. So a big way that we're teaching that is I do have a course that teaches clinicians kind of my evaluation and my treatment process, specifically through like exercise and movement and biomechanical things. It's all very fancy words in our PT world. So we have a course that people can take with that. But then also the Genesis way is also like our operations. That's this COO's job over here. So just kind of like giving to our coaching clients, our business and leadership coaching clients, like better ways to operate their practices and their teams. And then it's also culturally, it's like, let's do better. Like, let's have better cultures for our people. And that starts with us in leadership. And what does that look like with what are we believing about our team and our values? But then also, how is that put into action? Because that's all culture is it's like, what actions are taken over and over and over by your team for a really long time. That's your culture. But the actions come from what you believe. And that starts with the leadership team. So it's like the Genesis way is like, how we're treating pelvic floor dysfunction and we're teaching other people to do it different and better. It's how we operate our practices. And we have our coaching clients that Corrie works amazingly well with, teaching them all their ops. And then we have culture, like let's change the game of culture. And I love just being a thought leader in that space and just kind of encouraging leaders and clinic owners and things to just like be better. Like, let's just be better. Honestly, let's hold ourselves to a higher standard. Let's look inside ourselves and fix in us what needs to be fixed so we can show up for our teams and we can lead them to victory. I'm like, let's change the game. But that's the Genesis way, is it's this holistic look at how we do what we do. And we love teaching people that.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk as now business owners. What was the mindset shift for you or shift in the business processes where you went from, I want to help all the women with their pelvic health and stop peeing when they run or sneeze to, oh, wait, this is also a business that needs to be profitable. Like, what did that look like?
I would say part of when I came in last year and got a little bit more into the nitty gritty of the businesses. And I started to have even more questions of just like, okay, how are we making these decisions? How sustainable are all of these decisions? Like, Sometimes you invest here and you're like, there's going to be an ROI, and there may be, but also like, how long is that going to take? Because also with us growing so quickly, our team wanted to kind of continue to grow and grow and grow and grow, which we love and want to nurture in them. And I was kind of like looking at some things and I was like, this is not sustainable. And Becky knew too, but she's our visionary. So she's like, we're just going to figure it out. And I was like, we are, with some professional help. And so that's when we brought in the financial experts, you guys, to kind of help us do some like more strategic analysis and put actual things in place. Because I always say we're very smart physical therapists, but like explain everything else besides the body to me like I'm 5. And so going through everything with someone who's an expert in this field, I've learned so much and it's been so helpful. And we've seen that in the business too. But I would say that just like behind the scenes was what happened.
So once the integrator got in and saw the numbers, what was happening, me like, so you're doing a great job helping everyone. However, payroll comes every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. And I was like, yeah, I know. We're fine.
It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine. It has to be fine. And it's not like I wanted to ignore anything. I just live 100 miles ahead. And that's just how I'm built. And had Corrie never come in the picture, would I have figured it all out? Probably. I don't know what that would look like. But I do know that we have figured it out and we are figuring it out and we're doing it together. And it's been,
yeah,
like I was gonna say, it's been fun. It's been real. And it's been
real.
fun. I don't know if it's been real fun, but
well, also to add to that, like Becky had figured out every challenge that had come Genesis's way successfully. So it was by no means like in the toilet or anything. But part of what I was looking at and being like, this is not sustainable, is the toll it was taking on her. Yeah. And so that is also typically her solution is I'll just die. I'll just kill myself to make it work. And I'm like, I was like, so let's not have that be the plan.
That's so true. That is my plan.
And
let's
then
not kill the entrepreneur.
Worst case scenario, that will have to be what we do, because we would never let Genesis go down. But let's not have that be plan
go down
A.
with this ship.
Let's not have that be plan A, was my big, like, where I was drawing a line in the sand.
I remember when we met at an event out in Arizona and you came into the event and the thing was, we want a fractional CFO, and someone yelled, Pam!
Yeah.
So I came running and they're like, what? Is everything okay? They're like, they need a CFO. And I was like, that's what I do.
Yeah.
In your pink sparkle outfit.
Yeah.
That's on track. So what are some numbers that you're tracking now that you weren't tracking before that is making a huge difference for you?
Like most of them.
No, we were tracking nothing pretty much.
Yeah, I would say, especially using the term tracking, like obviously we were like looking at accounts and, what was coming in, and our EMR, our electronic medical record, you can kind of pull reports and they're better than nothing. But previously we didn't have any dashboards or anything like that. So now we do. And we look at profit every month and every quarter. And we also track revenue from different streams of revenue, which is very helpful, especially now that we had multiple clinics. That was very challenging to do before. Y'all's bookkeepers came in and helped us. And now we have better data on like, okay, what are we doing that is working financially? And okay, where do we actually need to put in a little more elbow grease or like look at what needs to change? And so I would say like profit, different revenue streams. Y'all helped us significantly with just like our pricing model. So like figuring out how to charge for things appropriately, which feels very complicated in healthcare. At least it did for me, because there's just so much that goes into serving like a patient population and taking good care of your team. And so y'all gave us some models to help with that. And so now every time we make a financial decision, we have a system to plug it into. So all
of the cog sheet?
Yeah, that's the cog
That's my favorite sheet. I'm like, pull up the cog sheet. Let's do some formulas.
Yeah. Yes, queens. I love it. So what is next for you guys? What's on the horizon? What are we looking forward to?
The horizon is we are epically changing the game of pelvic health care. We are changing the standard and the quality of the care that is associated with pelvic floor therapy. And we are changing the way, improving the way that we can run our teams and love our teams and serve our teams and serve our patients and still have a successful, profitable business that is not based on me going down with this ship. So I am like gung ho. We are proving actively in real time that that can exist and is a thing. And then next step is package it all up and help other people learn everything that we have learned along the way and all the mistakes that we have made and just literally everything. Like, please, God, learn this stuff and don't do what we did and let me just show you the way, the Genesis way. So that's like my huge vision is that's ultimately how I can see us making the biggest, widest impact on the field is not just, I used to think let's open all the brick and mortars across the entire world so everyone can have a Genesis. But I'm like, we can actually just pave the way and then lead the way and help people get on this path with us and do it our way in this different, better way. So that's my big dream in the coming years that we're working towards.
It's beautiful. I love it. All right, Corrie, what's on the horizon?
Well, alongside with that, we are expanding our operations to include some other services. And so with the help of the CFO and everybody on your team, we're doing that better. And that's something I've just been working on a lot lately. So we're really excited for that. That's coming.
Dead. I'm like, that's so in the now.
That's me though. I'm like, Becky's like 10 years from now, here's what's happening. And I'm like, so next quarter, this is what's up. But yeah, that's what we're doing is we're growing differently now. We did grow and we're so glad to have all of our different locations and our whole team and we adore them. And we really want to kind of bolster the care we provide at the clinics we have and just make it better and better. And so we're spreading our wings just even a little bit more into making pelvic health accessible and more excellent than what you can get anywhere else.
I just love how your personalities and like how you're wired. Like Becky's just the visionary. She's like future, future, future. And Corrie's like, but also like next week.
Like right now.
That's why it works. That's why it works.
Such a power team. So let's wrap up with what advice would you give other purpose-driven health professionals who are also entrepreneurs who are trying to manage the world of money and numbers and be a profitable business, not just helping people?
Get help.
Yeah.
Like
get a financial
I'll speak expert. For myself. I am someone who I will take a freaking challenge head on and I will do it and I will figure that crap out. And also, I don't want to figure out finances. So I'm like, that frees me up to just keep going full steam ahead to my vision and like pour into my team because I'm not having to figure it all out by myself and learn how to be a CFO. Like we've hired people on your team to come help us and that's the whole thing about being better together is it's like asking for help on the parts where you're not the expert. And that would be my biggest tip is like, yes, we are strong, independent females and we can stay in our lane and make even a bigger impact when we do what we're best at and what we're passionate about and delegate the rest.
Yeah, I would say genuinely, it's so funny because I feel like, especially doing coaching with other people, a lot of what I do recommend is like, I have learned a lot more now, but I still would never call myself a financial advisor. I'm like, you need to get someone in there to teach you this stuff about your business and help you make decisions about what your values are for your business from a financially informed position. And like, we want people to hire us because we're experts, right? And we can help them get better, faster, and stay that way longer than if they just scroll through Instagram and try to figure out on their own, right? And then at the same time, people struggle to turn around and do the same thing, but for their business. So that is my advice is like, we just didn't know that a fractional CFO existed in the beginning. And so I learned about that right before the conference and came in and was like, I'm going to find one here. And that's how we met you, Pam. And so that has been a huge help, genuinely.
Well, My whole team loves you. And we launched our service with you guys in person. It was just so great to see your heart. And I went to one of your clinics and it just felt so warm and welcoming. So passionate about what you guys are doing. Because as a woman who's had 3 kids, pelvic health is a thing that needs help.
Yes, it is.
And perimenopause and menopause are staring me down. So, Queens, where can people connect with y'all?
I would love Instagram follow if you want to just see my world of what I'm out here pioneering with changing the game. And it is Dr. Becky Pelvic PT. That's going to be where I'm most active.
And then mine's just Dr. Corrie, the pelvic PT. And then you can find all of our clinical stuff at Genesis PT and Wellness on Instagram.
I love it. Queens, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and your passion. And I just love your heart for being out there and helping women and realizing that the Genesis way can pave the way for other clinicians and other people who are passionate so that you don't have to make just another store and another store and another store, but you can truly make huge ripples in the world with what you're doing. So heart you both so much. Listeners, please make sure you like and subscribe our podcast. And if you want help understanding your numbers and getting out of the weeds, just go to pamjordan.com. My team would love to meet with you. And remember, it is not what you make that matters. It is what you keep.